Welcome back, everyone. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon, back again on another segment. And today I have none other than Mark Passio. What on earth is happening, Mark? It's been a bit since we brought out a segment together. I saw you recently in Philadelphia. Awesome place you got. Definitely leveled the fuck up. And I'm pretty excited to get into the things that we're going to be touching upon today. And I think it's pertinent as far as ideologies are concerned and skewed perceptions. A lot of assumptions in terms of this left-wing, right-wing paradox that we're all experiencing the amplification of, and all this shit getting fucking exposed. Getting into the refutation of satanic tenets is what I want to touch upon with you today. To get started, the definition of tenet is a principle or belief, especially in terms of principles to a religion or philosophy to religion. The first tenet states that one should strive and act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. Now, when I was going through these many years ago, on the surface, it doesn't look bad. That's a major thing in terms of how they're able to fucking snare. There is no satanic church outside of Christianity. As far as my declaration is concerned, my refutation stating no, reason has been skewed in our world in terms of perception, where a growing number of people, as it's been, to the assumption that we must give compassion when it's not deserved. This tenet is a misnomer in terms of alleged quote-unquote empathy. Required to, if you have compassion and empathy upon all creatures or persons, is nonsense to quote-unquote be a good person, and is absolutely unreasonable, especially in terms of evil and these lower forces in context to their meat sacks on ground level that don't give a fuck about our compassion and will eat us alive otherwise, to an assumption with this tenet to that reason is somehow going to change them or make them good otherwise. That is what they count on in terms of this love and light manipulation tactic. Dangerously weakens individuals, let alone their personal shields and the planetary shields themselves. And you can't reason with psychopaths like you know what you have said before. The first tenet here, what would you say?
First of all, I want to thank you for bringing me back on Black Earth Productions. Pleasure to be here today. Very interesting discussion that you have lined up and an interesting topic that you've chosen. A lot of people will, if they are familiar with my work, know a different set of satanic tenets. One of the first things before we delve into each one is to give the background of what it is we're actually talking about, where these tenets come from. These are not the main tenets of the satanic religion as I have outlined my experience within Satanism.
Right.
These 7 satanic tenets come from the Satanic Temple, a different organization from the Church of Satan, the Temple of Set, and other groups that form a part of the overall worldwide satanic network hierarchy, the dark occult. One of the things that people should understand is that not all sects of Satanism agree with each other.
Right, just like any other fucking religion.
Correct. They have delineations of their religion, just like any other. Christianity has different sects within it.
There's over 150 denominations in terms
Of course. And, Satanism probably has tens of different variations and sects. You have to realize some of them are rigidly atheistic. Some of them are what is termed spiritual Satanism, where they believe in a spiritual existence, theistic, or even a theistic Satanism. So this is coming from one specific sect of Satanism known as the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple, however, if I'm going to give my take, I never had any personal involvement with them or any of their membership, only actually giving an account of reading into their material, looking at their activities, and making a basic gauge of what they're really ultimately about. Is this Satanism? Yes, it is a form of Satanism because it is all about high level individuality, and not from a perspective of understanding true rights and morality. It is from the perspective of selfish individualism, which is what all Satanism ultimately derives from. Again, when I explain the tenets of Satanism, I am boiling down the overall ideology into a series of tenets, the underlying belief system that drives their ideology, which is what a tenet really is. So, tenets, number one is egotism, framing their tenets in the same way. Egotism, moral relativism, social Darwinism, and eugenics, which I've explained on your show before and in my material ad infinitum. What they are really going for is modern, materialistic, and socialist approach to what Satanism is, framing it in different terms with different tenets. Realize this is a politically inclined sect of Satanism that really does a lot of political activism and are leftist slash woke. So we're not talking about the Church of Satan or other traditional satanic organizations that people may be more familiar with. People may have seen or heard about the Satanic Temple in news reports and online articles regarding them getting statues of Satan put into town squares or schools, things like that. They have been renowned for activities in the political sphere and their approach to spreading their idealistic form of Satanism. To put that into context, look at their first tenet. Again, what they're saying here, strive to act in compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. I would generally agree with that tenet.
This is what I'm getting at as far as how it seems on the surface.
Correct.
In context, as far as I'm concerned, having compassion on all,
right?
On all.
Yes. So now that leaves
totally
out
unreasonable.
The ruling psychopaths of the world, people that want to control and enslave.
It's not going to change a goddamn thing, even if you fucking did. They count on that to weaken you, weaken your fucking shields, your resolve, and pull you into this false cold loving light, very similar to what is taught in the religion of Christianity.
Also in the New Age movement. Right. You could call this New Age Satanism. And they do blend. They do come together ideologically. So what I would say that qualifies this for those who are reading it is the word with reason. If it were said within reason, it could qualify the statement for interspecies predators such as psychopaths who currently run our world. They're not going to talk about that the psychopaths are Satanists, and that is their religion that drives the pure selfishness, moral relativism, social Darwinism, and eugenics, the tenets that I outline. But what they're trying to do here is paint with a broad brush. And this qualified by saying that there are certain people that are out to do direct harm, to enslave, manipulate, control, and ultimately perform eugenics upon a given population. Certainly.
2020.
Oh, absolutely. It kicked into high gear since the PSYOP. Qualify that statement. There are certain beings that don't deserve our compassion within reason instead of just reason. You have to be wary of painting with a broad brush, and you have to state the caveat openly that this does not include all, because there are many out to do harm, husks of what a human being should be, that's about to eat a baby. You have to do what needs to be done, and you can't show compassion at that point. Within a certain realm of activity, yes, you can show compassion, but you have to defend yourself. The second main law of natural law comes into effect, which is the self-defense principle, and you have to not take empathy or compassion upon an enemy without conscience, which is really what we are up against in the modern world today, as far as the ruling globalists are concerned.
So, moving to the second tenet, it states here, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Now, my refutation in context, no. The struggle for justice is ongoing because of high levels of injustice and unwise individuals indoctrinated and corrupt within these institutions set up by them and are designed to keep you in a place of struggle. Pursuing it otherwise does not prevail anything. They want to keep us struggling in terms of virtue. And to be consistently struggling for some kind of justice does not actually bring it. Even in terms of my experience with these institutions, there's a time that we must take action to overcome And in order to experience true justice, we require that we take it into our own hands in terms of common sense. There are consequences for everything. And for us to come into a place of thriving in life, we must overcome in terms, not plaguing manufactured struggles that violate cosmic law on a fucking snare otherwise to a life of existence thriving. That's my refutation as far as the second tenet is concerned. What would you say?
This tenet has to be put in context in terms of the definition of the word justice. So what do people believe that justice is versus what it really is? The origins of the word justice, it comes from the Latin jus juris. So no J in classical Latin, so it would be spelled I-U-S. Jus or juris is the genitive form, which would be I-U-R-I-S. Jus juris in Latin means right, morally right. This is where people's subjective interpretation of morality would color this statement in context. Again, on paper, it looks and sounds good. And I would agree if we agree on what we mean by justice. Justice or rights should not have to be a struggle. People should not be attempting to steal our rights, to take them, to curtail them. Rights are not given. In a state where justice does prevail, it is a struggle because some people believe that they are masters over others through this concept authority, through this institution known as government, and believe that they can set the laws for other people. True justice should prevail over any man-made laws or institution. In context, that is true. But we have to agree on what we mean by the term justice and define it. Justice is a state in which rights prevail and they come before everything else.
But seeing struggle as some kind of virtue,
it has to be an eternal.
This is about overcoming.
That's right.
Coming into a place of thriving in life, exercising our rights, and exercising true justice within this fucking realm. And if it's not going to be delivered by these quote unquote authorities, as I stated, we're going to have to take it into our own hands.
Of course.
In order to overcome.
See, the framing of their statement starts with the word struggle. The struggle for justice. This obviates free will, saying that somebody's always going to be trying to take our rights away. No, that doesn't have to be the case. Number one, educate people so that they don't agree with that agenda and keep going along with its dictates and orders. Number two, we can put a stop to it physically when enough people come together and agree the people doing what they're doing in the world have no right to do it, and we can physically stop them from doing it. It's not a struggle that has to be ongoing for eternity. Rights are a birthright. Rights are inherent, a birthright. Creation itself. They are into the fabric of the universe and into the fabric of creation. No one grants them. No one has the right to take them away. When someone makes a claim on them and attempts to take them away, they're acting outside of their rights and they forfeit their rights, including the right to remain unharmed.
And we as individuals are the only ones that can take action with them.
This goes back to the same
finger if you don't know what your rights are in terms of the birthright rights.
Correct.
There is going to be no true justice.
Unless people understand what rights really are. Rights are behaviors which do not initiate harm to other sentient beings. You're not going to find any discussion of natural law or true objective morality within the confines of the dogma of the Satanic Temple or any other satanic organization, because they're not interested in teaching that. They want to paint with a broad brush and conform leftist/socialist agendas and move people into secularism, materialism, and atheism. I would, again, agree with this one in a different context. Not the struggle for it is ongoing. Justice, our rights, our birthright, the state where they prevail, be the natural state of our existence. We've been backed into a corner because the psychopaths running our world, making claims on our rights, take them away without right, and the natural law principle of self-defense would have a right to stop that at any given time they so choose.
Institutions set everything up, give us their ideologies through the three main world religions, let alone Satanism. It's two sides of the same fucking coin.
Of course. It's all religion. False belief systems that prevent us from an understanding of the truth of natural law and objective morality. That's ultimately what they're trying to hold us back from the realization of.
Now, the third tenet, people listening right now, it states here, one's body is inviolable, never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored, subject to one's own will. Now, On the surface, that looks very good. Again, when we think about how things are worded, if we don't know the language that we're speaking, and state no, if that were the case and subject to one's own will alone, then it would not be violated by these satanic institutions on every level in our world, to be broken, infringed, and dishonored with the poisoning of our food, the poisoning of the air, the poisoning of the fucking water, intake of things that have a direct effect on the body, and not just the physical body. There's more than one body within our body politic on a multidimensional level. And in terms of who we are as beings in this world, the mainstream media content, in terms of Hollywood and a growing number of other things, including the needlecraft that manifested frequency aspects of this fucking war in order to break the will of mankind, as well as a cause of even greater subjugation. This continues to be broken on a consent to yet another false virtue. Subjecting one's own will alone on a consent to a false virtue otherwise justified to depravity as some kind of honorable thing.
I would say that their statement is generally within the confines of what I would agree with, but again, it has to be put into context. You can't honor that if someone else is violating people's rights. That forfeits their right for their body to remain unharmed and inviolable. In general, yes, it's a true statement. I generally agree. I would be very interested in seeing what they think about the mandates of the shot for people going to work, etc. All of the duress and coercion that was used to get people to take this eugenics jab that was pushed so hard the years following the PSYOP. I'd be very interested in what they think about that as far as the inviolability of the human body. The body is inviolable, but we cannot extend that to people who are damaging other people's body, property, or rights. Once you step out of the realm of right behavior, of right action, and you're performing violations of right action, you're performing violations of natural law such as murder, assault, rape, theft, trespass, coercion, and deception, the true 7 behaviors that if we take, we are stealing from someone else, we are diminishing someone else or their property, we are violating natural law, and we are violating the rights of other beings. As soon as you step out of that, you forfeit your number one right, which is the right to remain unharmed.
Their third tenet completely contradicts their first.
If they're taken within the context of how they're being framed here, I would say they need further qualification. They certainly would need to say, your rights are not being infringed by someone else. Your body is not attempting to be violated by other people, which is what you're putting into context. You're saying they do this all the time. Right. They violate people's bodies all the time. So no, then their bodies are not inviolable. As soon as they conduct that wrong action, they forfeit their right to remain unharmed. Their body can be violable and subject to action from other people who they are violating the rights of. Self-defense always is in effect. As soon as somebody is taking an action that is violating the rights of another, they have forfeit their right to remain unharmed. It is an actionable offense.
Conditioned to these tenets and ideologies, people don't take action in terms of that. And again, in terms of the second tenet, that's what the fuck they count on.
Right. It makes it an ideology of just standing down and accepting things as they are. It has to be laid out in a proper philosophical context, especially and this is within why I want natural law.
Right. And this is why I want to have this conversation with you. Observing this, I see the flaws in terms of these general ideologies.
Right.
And so going into the fourth tenet, it states here, and again, it looks good on the fucking surface. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and justly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Now, what I'm going to say, look, we all literally have free will to do what the fuck we please. Free will is a gift that must be mastered, though, and we can't just do whatever the fuck we want with it without consequence. I cannot respect certain choices that people make in terms of alleged freedom because it violates what true freedom requires and the conditions for it to manifest. People are free to be offended if they choose. When people are offended, nothing actually happens.
Right.
And that's what people don't get. Having the freedom to offend others does not lead to actual freedom. It leads to a growing number of issues in terms of major indifference and bitterness to multiple triangulation factors, subjective interpretation, certain points of view that violate what true freedom actually looks like. postmodern my truth bullshit pseudo philosophy, which is nothing more than moral relativism, encroaches upon the freedom to be in alignment with actual truth itself, and needs to be corrected and crushed otherwise, whether mythically, metaphorically, and quite literally speaking. What would you say to that?
I agree with your contention that this has to be framed within the context of what people see as freedom, because that could be very morally relativistic. Again, freedom is the right to conduct your rights unrestrained. It is not the right or ability to simply go around doing whatever you want that causes harm to others. Again, that's what you have to be careful of when examining anybody's main tenets and belief systems. You are defining terms properly. And in this case, yes, I would agree with the statement as long as what we're talking about as freedom is acting within our natural law rights morally, and not just framing it in a morally relativistic framework where we can do whatever we want. Definitely agree with your contention that being offended does not constitute doing somebody a wrong. If your mental interpretation of what someone says offends you and puts you in a state of discomfort, that's your own issue. You have to deal with how you respond to that mentally and emotionally. I could get offended by what someone says. That does not mean I have the right to take action against them. The same thing when I say something that people don't like about the existing system, it conflicts with their existing belief, and they get offended. Feel free to get as offended as you want. That's your right to get offended, and it's my right to say what I
thought
said.
this one would be interesting to get into because you always fucking say that. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Of course.
People can be offended all they fucking want to. It doesn't change anything.
The truth remains the truth. You can go and feel offended as you want. That's not really going to change reality. Again, you have to look at it in context, and you have to be on the same page definitionally, which may not be what freedom means. Yes.
Right. They're saying the freedoms of others should be respected, and to unjustly encroach upon the freedom of another is to forego one's own. That's exactly what the fuck they do.
That's what Satanists at the higher levels do.
My point of getting into this with you, this is what they give the lower tier.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hook people fucking in.
Giving people
virtue, man.
Things that sound very reasonable to bring them into the ideology. Then they're going to start performing their filtration process and vetting processes to see who they can bring up and groom into the higher levels of the satanic network. That's absolutely how Satanism works on a worldwide basis from a personal experience.
Two sides of the same coin in terms of triangulation. They control both sides of that triangulation factor in terms of perception and also in terms of interpretation.
That is definitely true. Since I have no personal interaction with this particular group, I can't say that definitively, but more likely than not, they are working within the confines of that wider agenda and cooperating with it at some level. I think that's definitely something that has to be taken into account, for sure.
So, going into the fifth tenet, this one's wild. This one's completely fucking wild. Total bullshit. It states here, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care to never distort scientific fact to fit one's belief. No, that's exactly what they do. To say that beliefs, which first are nothing to do with actual knowing to anything, should conform to one's quote-unquote best scientific understanding of the world is a contradiction to what this tenet allegedly requires. And further, one should never distort scientific facts to fit one's alleged beliefs. Again, this is exactly what the fuck they do. And I'm talking about the overarching network.
Right.
The true dark Luciferian vein.
Yes.
That is the poisoned root in this fucking world. Back to the fucking cult of Aton. Because they always have their front with shit, but then, you know, the inner workings of what's happening behind the scenes. This is even what I experienced when I was in ministry. Again, what has manifested otherwise in our world with false education to indoctrination, with also the propaganda that violates and permits destruction, to what I said about their third tenet, getting into the body politic, and with even worse shit, including castration to virtue. Trusting the science, man. All of this madness and bullshit that we fucking see going on was never conducive to the universal laws of metaphysics, eternal axioms, and how things actually work in context to cosmic law when it comes to nature, the universe, to reality, and how things actually work, which is the objective reality field that if you don't know how it works, like we both know, one's quote-unquote best scientific understanding completely and totally violates what true science actually is in context to magic, metaphysics, and physics, let alone the occult sciences.
Exactly. I fully agree with your interpretation of this one. There's a lot to unpack here. And again, it all really comes down to definitions of things. First of all, beliefs are just speculations. They don't conform to anything, quite frankly. That's why I say, let's get rid of beliefs and let's try to get down to how things really work through a process of truth discovery. They're not talking about a truth discovery process, the trivium, the true scientific methodology. They're talking about grant funded science, government grant money funding it. Is that people coming to conclusions that they're paid to come to? Because that's what a lot of science is in the world today. And the followers of that following scientism, another religion. Science as an institution versus true knowledge are two different things. And what the occult sciences get us to is really understand how the formulation of a truth discovery methodology such as the trivium works, and then to utilize that to come to a place of knowledge, and then to do what is correct with that knowledge so we attain true wisdom. Wisdom is doing what is right with what we know to be correct. And we arrived at that understanding through a true truth discovery methodology. This one, again, sounds good on paper, but within context, you have to frame it how they're defining their terms. What is science to them, right?
Exactly.
Right. So, and beliefs really should be left at the door. Personal, subjective interpretations of things are not knowledge in and of themselves. Definitely agree with your analysis of that. This has to be viewed in context to the real laws of reality, natural law, the true occult sciences, which are always going to include the trivium process. That's going to be one of the foundational basics, the trivium and the quadrivium. Forget beliefs. Let's get an accurate understanding of knowledge instead of scientific institutions, because that's exactly what they tell people. Just trust the scientific institutions. How skewed is that? And how wildly off base is that at almost all times and places in our world? We live in a sicker society than we ever have, where more people have diseases and illnesses than ever. We live in a society that is ignorant about what's really going on in the world and what science is really all about, and the true discovery of knowledge, how that really works epistemologically. You're absolutely correct that these people say one thing and do the other. For the readers of these tenets, what they're ultimately long-term really trying to push is secularism, materialism, atheism. You really have to read these tenets in full understanding with the rest of what this organization says and teaches, and their ultimate long-term agenda and goals ideologically. Many people will state good and reasonable, even somewhat logical sounding principles or tenets, and they have, cultural Marxist agendas. They have outright socialist woke agendas, etc. Your analysis of this one was pretty spot on.
Looking at the state and the condition of the fucking world, it's absolute and total fucking madness still. And with what's been happening in the Middle East, it's all operating on a goddamn fucking program in terms of this trifecta that they control in terms of triangulation factors. And I released a segment, Secrets of the Void, and how the void actually operates, the mathematical construct of it flips on the checkerboard mutation. And in terms of that, ideologies and belief systems and assumptions and a whole bunch of other fucking shit, people are backed into a fucking corner and forced to pick a side because they don't know how the objective reality field fucking operates. This is one of my main points, getting into what I mentioned about the universal laws of metaphysics, eternal axioms, knowing how things actually work. This is some of the most occulted knowledge that has been kept from us. If you don't know cause of law, you're a fucktarded moron.
Right.
If you don't know it's all about your state of mind, you're completely fucked. They know it's all about our state of mind.
Yep.
So to condition the mind in terms of certain beliefs to scientific ideologies, which are nothing to do with true science, is metaphysics to physics, it's multidimensional. And we're locked the fuck down into the dynamics of this fucking trifecta. And it's been going on for thousands of years. It's nothing new.
Yeah, and they want to push people into that dialectic of religion versus atheism.
That's what Albert Pike's Third World War is all about.
Correct.
And we see it playing the fuck out, trying to pull the world into this fucking shit. And people like us, we're here to call it the fuck out and say, no.
Just think about it. He wanted to create a dialectic by which Christian and nihilistic world are all fighting each other to weaken each other so that they could all be conquered. It's really genius from the perspective of the chess master playing the game against the ignorant. It's not going to play out very well for us if we don't wake up and wise up.
And with that being said, I'm going to pull this segment into a break. I'm here with Mark Passio via What on Earth is Happening, and also in terms of the One Great Work Network that all of us have been a part of creating and driving forward the alignment of truth itself, being the master teacher of us all. And as it states, to protocol teaching, the proper methodology in terms of truth discovery. All truths are but half truths, and all paradoxes must be reconciled so that you get a 360-degree view within the fulcrum of the gates of true intelligence, seeing everything for what it is and not what you assume, what you've been led to believe or conditioned to perceive it is. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon. Mark and I will be back right after this.
Terror of a human error under the bell, a mutineer gone astray. Kneel and obey, everyone is free. Under the bell, we suffocate and fade away. Live and die under the bell. Wanting terror of a human error under the bell, a mutineer gone astray. Live and die under the bell. Live and die under the bell. the bell. A mutineer gone astray. Kneel and obey. Everyone is free. Onto the bell. We suffocate and fade away. Leave and die under the bell. Wanting terror of the human era. Under the bell. A mutineer gone astray. Live and die under the bell. Live and die under the bell.
And we're back. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon. Everyone go into the description below. Click on the link, Black Earth Productions with a Z.com. Go through everything. And also in terms with Mark Passio at whatonearthishappening.com. Click on over to support, check everything out, to dive deeper, everything we are getting into with this segment. Take heed, realize how the veils operate as we continue to move forward, ripping and tearing all of this shit to shreds. Now to continue. Moving into the sixth tenet now. States here, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify and resolve any harm that may have been caused. Now, see, again, on the surface, it seems pretty, quote unquote, reasonable. No, people are not being held accountable to wisdom with their mistakes and will continue to make them if they're not held accountable and, quote unquote, doing your best to rectify and resolve things is often one of the greatest mistakes that one can make that can bring even greater harm. I've seen this shit play the fuck out, literally experienced it myself. In certain situations, they don't require discussion, especially if individuals don't hold true to a philosophy of wisdom and accountability. We cannot make excuses for mistakes, especially if they're made over and over again. And if it said people are fallible, co-signed at the beginning of this specific tenet, they'll be fallible and continue to make them fallible. We need to own our mistakes in terms of accountability, and as well as making others own their mistakes. Otherwise, individuals continue to fuck shit up and nothing is ever rectified to resolve. If anything is going to be resolved, accountability to greatness is required. Accountability to greatness. Why the fuck else did we incarnate in this realm except to be great? Except to master being human, like I go off about on my platform.
To truly self-actualize.
Right. And not just doing one's best to resolve anything when that's not even being fucking met.
Yeah, people strive to be middle of the road. They strive for mediocrity, unfortunately. If we don't hold others accountable when they are performing a wrong that has resulted in harm and they don't care, they keep doing the same thing over and over again with absolutely no accountability. This is one of the things that people have to understand about real forgiveness versus I want to let the situation go. This is the problem. We've just let it go and let it go and let it go and let it go until it's turned into a situation of slavery whereby the wrongdoers are never held accountable for their immoral behavior. It's not the one-way street. If I make a mistake, I have to be held to account for it. It's if anybody makes a mistake, they have to be held accountable to it. Again, you have to frame it in context with what is currently going on. Are people currently trying to do their best to make amends? Are they, completely unapologetic for the harm that they've resulted in, their behavior has resulted in, the behavior that they've influenced other people to conduct? They're not sorry for it. So if someone's not really intend to make amends, it has nothing to do with real forgiveness. Real forgiveness is a two-way street that starts with one person acknowledging the wrong and harm in their previous behavior, and then saying, not only am I going to be held to account for it and do what I need to do to bring restitution to the situation, but I'm going to the absolute best of my ability, make sure that I never do anything like that again. We're not hearing anything like that from the people who are currently doing the harms of the world. They want to get away with this unscathed, with nobody even understanding the wrong that they did, and not be held to account. Yes, I would qualify this one. I would say I agree with the basic principles of the statement, qualify it by stating that we absolutely must also hold other people to account and make sure that they don't get away with their harmful behavior completely unscathed. That's not justice. That's not morally right. And that's unfortunately what we are seeing across most of the world. The wrongdoers and evildoers are insulated by the order follower. Look at all of the harm that they're doing. Who's insulating them from justice? Who's making sure that they aren't held to account for their immoral behavior? Police and military throughout the world, all of the order following scum who are the minions of the highest level trash, holding back true justice from actually going and getting those people and holding them to account. They're the people who are ultimately enslaving everybody. The police and military and order followers of the world are the ultimate enslavers of humanity, and they are the insulators of the highest level. They're insulating them from justice upon them and them being held to account for their immoral behavior. I can't even imagine how anybody could be such an ignoramus scumbag, wake up in the morning and go to work at the police or the military every day of their lives. That is a spiritual child with crap diapers.
They're given over to an ideology in terms of a false virtue, and this is one of my points.
That's exactly what it is.
Given, it's false nobility.
They're not brave. They're not helping anybody. You're helping the scumbags of the world rule over everybody else because you think you'll be the last person thrown to the big beast to be eaten. That's a moronic, retarded mentality. They're little, mentally disabled children. What's really holding back accountability? You need to look no further than the order followers of our world. Communist secret police, they were all cut from the same cloth, all cut from the same immoral piece of trash cloth.
It's not going to change the reality either way, whether you agree or disagree. We're talking about actually
that's what's happening. That's
what the fuck is really going on. And without accountability to wisdom, it doesn't fucking change. People had to adhere wisdom. Otherwise,
they'll keep perpetuating the same immoral cycles all over and over and over and over ad infinitum throughout all of human history, and it'll keep going until we change what's going on up here.
Right. Again, it's all about our state of mind. This is why Mark comes with such a vehemence. And this is why I also come with vehemence, knowing the fucking difference. We know what the fuck is required in order to transcend the lockdown to these factors and how the trifecta actually operates. This is ultra ancient shit. And from cradle to grave, people are indoctrinated and programmed to it.
The people doing all of that, they're sorcerers and manipulators of human consciousness. Unless we exercise psychic self-defense in the mind and in the emotional realm as well.
Talk about emotional mind control for a bit.
That's what a lot of political left and new age movement fall for, tugging at the heartstrings of humanity. Emotional mind control is we'll send our special agents undercover to go shoot up a school, create the emotional reaction of, oh, how could this possibly be done? Go ban guns. We'll have no self-defense against a rogue criminal government. And people who say, oh, that won't matter in that situation. You don't understand battle tactics in an asymmetric urban warfare situation where small arms are of utmost importance. Really stopping them from truly, there you go, and handguns with battle rifle.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah. And they think that they're going to tug at the heartstrings of people and through that emotional mind control, get them to back political action that is completely against people's rights of self-defense. That's just one example of how they do it. But we have to be steeled against and protected against both mental and emotional forms of control. Emotional mind control that goes to work on our thoughts through our emotions, just as much as there's direct disinformation and misinformation that goes to work on the mind directly. We have to have that level, psychic and emotional self-defense in place to understand how these are just playing people in that regard, because there's no shields up against it.
Like I mentioned about personal shields and planetary shields, this is everything they're working to do to weaken.
That's right.
Planetary shields were cracked through in 2020. Talking about on a multidimensional level, with the manifestation of the old ones within the needlecraft. I have evidence of that in the Black Earth Library. This squid shit, parasitic consciousness that actually denotes things revealed in the mythos and that were warned about by the fucking ancestors.
Lovecraftian chthonic consciousness,
you know? Exactly what the fuck it is. That's what the old ones are, and that's what
parasitic
Lovecraft was picking up on. But the correlations I've been able to make in terms of the actual mythos, the mythopaic way of being, connection to the blood, the ancestors, the codes activating all across the board. This is why they did what they did in 2020.
Whenever consciousness rises to a certain level, they have planned, rollout of something lying in wait, ready to strike, and then they just roll it out. And unfortunately, the consciousness still isn't high enough to see the tactic. We have to get the consciousness so high, so knowledgeable, that people in general fully understand that these psyops are lying in wait, they're ready to be rolled out, and when they roll them out, recognize them for what they are, remain calm, not go into a reactive mode of fear, see them for what they are, and no, we're not going along with this nonsensical psyop. It's not going to happen. We're streetwise, and you're not going to roll that one out on us. Unfortunately, we're not there yet as a species. They keep buying it, and that's the cycle that has to be put to an end. We're going to evolve.
So in terms of emotional intelligence, how are you dealing with the contrast, knowing what you know? Let me tell you, brother.
It's hard, man.
For me, it is fucking absolutely difficult to not completely lose my fucking mind on these fucktarded morons that are perpetuating shit, not knowing the difference.
Children are running the house, man. Children are running the house, telling the adults how it's going to be. Imagine that. Right.
In terms of our
Oh, yeah. No, they're not going to get away with it with people like us. A lot of people are content to just let them do it. We tell them, no, you got to push back. You got to fight harder. You got to get on the battlefield. You can't just sit back, let Lovecraftian chthonic consciousness run the entire planet, which is already what's really happened. Let those people do whatever they want. They're going to take the whole world. These people are emotionally children. They're not adults. They're not wise people. They're the least among us. They're the least emotionally intelligent. They have no true heart-based intelligence active. They might have a lot of intellect, actuarial things that predict human behavior, etc. They don't have holistic intelligence. They're a husk.
One thing I recognize about emotional mind control, they want to keep everything on a fucking trigger. In terms of spokes within the wheel, they throw out every single day. If it's not one thing, it's another. The next day, the next week,
it's a bombardment.
The next fucking year, the next goddamn fucking lifetime. Like,
they got people on that wheel.
How many times is it going to fucking take?
They're almost addicted to the emotion, to the fear, to the reactive mode.
It's the cortisol.
Exactly. People have to get out of that.
This is how they're siphoning our magic, because our emotional capacity in terms of intelligence is where we're able to wield it from a place of true intelligence and alignment. Again, it's all a state of mind. Mind being the soil, the body politic.
Yes.
Where we're doing this work on ground level, ripping through the fucking shadow realms. That's where these motherfuckers rule from, and they want to keep people in thrall in terms of the Shadowlands, not even realizing that they're in the fucking Shadowlands.
Exactly. It's exactly how they operate. That's what sorcery is. Sorcery is taking advantage of someone else's ignorance of self and playing that off against them for the purposes of manipulation and control. And they're masters at that game. Masters. It's one thing they really know how to do. They don't know how to truly create, but they can take something that exists and twist and distort and manipulate it to suit their goals and agendas. The Satanists, the dark Luciferians, the dark occult, they know how to do that. Yep.
And that's my point in terms of getting into a refutation. On the surface, it looks good, but getting into the last one, to the 7th tenet, it states that every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire, listen to this shit, nobility in action and thought, The
Right.
spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Holy fucking shit. Wait a second, motherfuckers. No. These tenets are not guides to anything but false virtues and violate the very idea of what true nobility is in terms of right action and alignment, which is first mastered in terms of cosmic law. It's the first cosmic law. Two thought. People have not been taught how to actually fucking think.
That's right.
And if that is not known or mastered to a true guide in terms with cosmic law, let alone the other arts and sciences I teach with the mystery school, this is to do with very ultra specific templating with individuals. The gauge of your perception and the way you're wired as an individual is completely different than me. Getting into the gates, getting into planetary gates, learning how to master the second cosmic law of correspondence, as above, so below. So there's the first cosmic law where it moves, getting into the second cosmic law, takes you into the arts, takes you into these occult sciences that are truly things that people need to be focused on in terms of having an actual path work, knowing how things work, also come to know thyself, and also even deeper, why thyself. It's ultra specific to what the true occult science is to the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms. The 7 tenets, they're nothing to do with the spirit of true compassion, wisdom, or justice whatsoever. They're being used to fuck shit in this realm to a false virtue, make you even more enslaved to unreasonable bullshit that has conditioned people to justify everything, that has enslaved them, calling it freedom in order to make them weak and stupid otherwise. In all these areas, they co-sign to these specific tenets. And it's not just the Satanic Temple, but fucking anything that promotes these ideologies,
Right.
without a full spectrum perception of what the fuck is really going on.
Correct. The same happens in the political realm as well.
It's communism and a lot of other things in terms to this shit. When you really see how things are worded and come to knowing parse, syntax, quantum grammar, and context to them. And that's the trick of wordsmiths that know how to plague on virtues, which is what evil likes to hide behind most of all.
Again, definitions have to come into play. What do they mean by justice? What do they see compassion as? Compassion for their dogmatic worldview. What do they see wisdom as? Is wisdom truly doing the right thing with what you have come to know and understand? Or is it a relative definition to them? I think this is a general, overarchingly true statement, but again, in context to what they're talking about within the satanic belief system and ideological structure, looking at it in a deeper context because they are a satanic organization, saying that ultimately there's no truth to this that is relative and all can be changed according to our dictates, according to our whims.
Yeah, according to subjective interpretation. And
correct.
Choose to fucking change it.
You have to be very wary. They're really talking about the latter, which we said is a form of relativism that leads into relativism of truth, which is epistemological, and ultimately ontological relativism, and then moral relativism.
Right. How do these tenets differ from the other sects of Satanism and context?
Drastically.
Let's talk about that, man.
Yeah, the Satanic Temple.
They're like the outer court of Solomon's temple.
Without a doubt. Without any question. As far as the Temple of Set, the Church of Satan, they're definitely more highly connected. The people running them are. Their membership is still not really in the know. I wouldn't even make the claim that their membership's not really high up in that hierarchy at all. If it is, that it is serving the political agenda of bringing in secularists, materialists, people who subscribe to, quote, science in the modern day, with tenets that seem ideologically reasonable, and in certain ways, the way that they're worded, they are somewhat reasonable and logical. But in context to the overarching belief system of Satanism, again, an atheistic, morally relativistic, modern scientific institutions calling themselves science, but are really not about true knowledge and about putting the truth forward, in context with a political agenda, a leftist, socialist, woke agenda. You definitely see that with the Satanic Temple, no question about it. Politics is a puppet show. Right. The left and right are two aspects of enslaving people.
It's triangulation, man.
That's it. When people hear me speak, if I'm talking about things that right-wingers disagree with, I'm Mao Zedong. If I'm talking about things that left-wingers disagree with, I'm Adolf Hitler. And that's a child's interpretation of reality. I'm neither left nor right. I want to see all forms of politics destroyed and abolished. I want to see all forms of government destroyed and abolished. They are religions that hold people back from an understanding of spiritual truth. If you haven't figured that out yet, you're way, way behind. Catch
Again,
up.
the term
Please
government
catch up.
means
That's the first principle of natural law.
But that's the
Everything
thing,
must
Mark.
exist in the
That's
mind
fucking
first.
thing, man. People can't even get past that fucking
Right.
law.
Can't even understand the principle of mentalism. Before anything becomes a manifested reality, it must first exist within the realm of mind. The end. That's it.
A true master is going to go over the basics daily.
Yep.
Even 10th Dan black belt martial artists are going back to
Fundamentals is what made them a master.
Right.
Right.
And if you can master the fundamentals and principles, true fundamentals,
everything else is a piece of
cake. It's going to fucking rise in terms of the proper foundation. And that's
right.
Going over these things again and again and again.
We've exercised quite a lot of patience in teaching people who are slow on the uptake that really just need a lot of repetition to get it. To go back to your original question about how these differ, I would definitely have to qualify this as saying they differ tremendously. They're stopping short here and they're setting up their encampment halfway up the mountain, or a third up the mountain, let's say, right? Maybe a quarter. Okay, I might be being generous to say they're halfway. And instead of just buying into another false dialectic, push yourself to go further, to go all the way up to the mountain peak. That's where you're going to find natural law. That's where you're going to find true objective morality. We bring our behavior into alignment with it. There's no stopping human potential. And I'm an individualist. Taking individualism and making it so egotistic that it becomes Satanism is the problem. This is where it's out of balance.
That's where the soul spark is eclipsed. The will force is eclipsed in terms of what is driving it, the actions that they're taking, their behavior, their fucking attitudes, and their communication. The tongue is directly connected to the heart.
Of course.
Also metaphysically speaking.
And the throat chakra is right above the heart chakra.
And if this area is not bridged, if it's not moved through, and again, the ignition of the gates of true intelligence are truly cracked the fuck open, then the will force being driven by programming, woundedness, trauma, nets, traps, snares, relays, distortions, all of the
goes nowhere
issues. As far as I'm concerned, ego is not the issue.
No.
It's a question of what is driving the will.
And that's the difference and the definition that separates magic from sorcery.
Right.
And the definition, look at the subtlety of the difference. Magic is the art and science of influencing change to occur in accordance with the will. Set that aside for a moment, that definition, and let's give the definition of sorcery, which is what Satanism is within the framework of. It's part of the overall network of sorcery that is ultimately controlling our world, the network of dark occultists, the dark occult. The definition of sorcery is the art and science of influencing change to occur in accordance with the will. So verbally, they sound like the exact same definition until we understand in context the difference. The difference is in the word will. The art and science of influencing change to occur in accordance with the will. Which will are we talking about? Are we talking about the universal will of creation? Are we talking about cosmic law and the will that the universe to move the progression of consciousness in a particular direction? Does it want dissolution? Does it want non-individuation? Does it want chaos? Does it want breaking down into elemental form? I don't think the universe does want that. The universe wants greater complexity. It wants greater variation. It wants higher intelligence. It wants more diversity. It wants more creation. It wants to move itself into higher forms of intelligence and creation to better know itself. That's the whole purpose of existence and being, and why anything exists at all. It's a challenge to improve upon itself and to make things better, not make them degenerate and chaotic. It's to make them ordered so it can progress further, become stronger and better. That's the challenge for every individual within existence, and that's the challenge for the universe and existence itself. If we're talking about the will of creation, that's magic, influencing change to occur in accordance with that will is the process of magic at a distance, through the voice, through creation, through art, through media. That's what we're here to do. And the slavery of humanity so that we can progress into ever greater forms evolutionarily. We're being held back from doing that right now by sorcery. And it's the same process. Again, it can't create anything. These people don't create anything. They distort what already exists. So that will and that science and art exists. They just take it and they put it into a debased form. The art and science of influencing change to occur in accordance with my selfish will.
Different with the true will in terms of the soul and your eternal spirit.
That's right. They replace that with the degenerate, lowered, egotistical, me will.
Yeah.
That's all sorcery is. That's all Satanism is. When we understand the difference, that they're basically doing the same thing, doing the same types of influence, one is for a greater purpose and one is for a completely selfish and egotistical purpose.
But it's upon how things actually work and how they're able to manipulate how things work.
The highest levels.
They can't change how the objective reality field operates. And
that's correct.
How the objective reality field operates in this realm, you're completely and totally fucked.
Right. These people,
the foundation, let alone getting into the arts and sciences that reveal to an individual their templating to know how to master the second cosmic law of correspondence, so on and so forth.
Right.
Just think without that fucking proper foundation, it don't matter what you go to build. It don't matter what you go to create, because eventually it's going to meet that triangulation or that trifecta factor in terms of fucking programming, or you're going to have to deal with fucktarded morons that try to cut you down, try to tear you down, call you a fucking satanic pedophile or whatever the fuck. I get fucking accused of that shit. These people are fucking insane.
They're projecting their own weaknesses and insecurity.
I understand that psychologically, but they don't. I want to run my fist through these motherfuckers' skulls.
Sure.
I'm not having compassion for it. No, fuck you.
You gotta also look at their like psychic energy vampires, and they want to just tie up people's energy in drama, really to stay rooted in not getting involved in things like that. Satanism ultimately takes its adherents nowhere. It doesn't take them into a place of moving forward. It takes them into a place of stagnation. You're out of alignment with cosmic law, and therefore you're never going to truly evolve. The highest levels of these networks, of these satanic networks and their agendas, they know how that law operates, and they want other people not to know it to stagnate their evolutionary progress in consciousness. Picture a mathematician trying to steal from somebody who basically their entire lives never learned basic arithmetic, and they want to take them, right? How easy of a game would it be? It would be nothing. It would be child's play, because one person has all the knowledge and the other person has none. If an advanced psychologist wanted to do a psychological head job on somebody that had never studied any aspect of psychology and is completely naive about themselves, how much of a piece of cake is that operation, is that psychological operation going to be upon someone who knows absolutely nothing about psychology or the self? They're going to be able to do that like that. And that's what Sethikus is talking about here. We have to level up our knowledge and be wise as to how the actual laws of nature really work, or we're going to keep being gamed. We're going to keep being played by them.
Nature in the universe that we've all been cut the fuck off from.
That's right.
To a simulation, a fucking virtual infrastructure that completely violates the very nature of who you are in terms of fucking soul. That is why you're going fucking insane, motherfuckers. You're not able to make the fucking correlations, even to some of the stuff that we've talked about for fucking years. You still haven't got it at foundation. I want to get way beyond these fucking.
Sure. This is the ABCs. We're not talking about anything advanced. These are the fundamentals. This is the arithmetic.
I know things way, way fucking far beyond what I can even necessarily get into with people, because they don't have that capacity yet.
Right. They haven't done the personal, individual work to truly develop real self-respect, deep self-respect within themselves. That's to the point,
alchemy, man.
Right, to the point where forget being offended by words. people should be offended and feel insulted at the soul level by all of the institutions and all of the agendas that they've built up around the institutions of the modern day that are a complete insult to the human soul.
Right.
They are a complete degradation of the human soul and humanity's individual self-awareness. If you're not angry at what's going on, if you don't have the anger to look at what's going on in our world as far as the destruction of human freedoms, the destruction of rights, the boldness of government to make the claims that they're claiming that they have the right to do, I'm not going to tolerate that, because that's a complete insult to the very essence of my being. You don't even have the base level of self-respect that you need as a foundational motivating principle and guide to move forward and truly understand cosmic law. Unless you develop that level of self-respect first, don't expect to go very far in your understanding of anything beyond that. That has to come first, and you got to do that through personal introspection and shadow work.
Until one experiences the ignition of that soul spark of the true will force, you're not going to even know what the fuck that is. That has to be experienced, connection to the higher force. Higher force is real, and it's working to get our attention all the time. As far as I'm concerned, man, hearts of mankind are being fucking weighed, and not everyone's going to cross this goddamn fucking threshold.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
But there's those of us that are standing at the gates. You and I have been here, done this shit as far as incarnations.
Many times. Yeah.
We've mentioned this before, but it's becoming more real to me. I've been wrestling with this shit. I've been wrestling with my own template, knowing who the fuck I am, knowing the difference with everything. But when that fucking goddamn programming comes back and it tries to hook back in for another round, for another battle within the fucking minefield and all this different kind of shit, it never goes the fuck away.
We got to end that cycle.
My point is that trial or test or fucking attack, however people want to filter their fucking experiences, is never going to go away. What we decide on a daily fucking basis, taking action in alignment, is something we need to hold ourselves accountable to. Not ideologies and snowflake fucking bullshit that justify evil in our world, hiding behind a mask of virtue, false virtue. This is why the world is in the condition that it is, plaguing the fucking victim. Otherwise, all of it plagues the fucking victim as a cause point to see yourself as far less than what you truly are in terms of incarnation and becoming great in this world. Men need to rise the fuck up. And before I came and met with you, this last trip that I took, I was down in Virginia and met up with 30 men, and we established the knighthood like I shared with you, man. This, of course, is going to take a while to develop, but and there's a lot of men's networks out there and men working to get their fucking shit together and being straight up and fucking direct and not sugarcoating shit. We all need accountability.
Sure.
I value accountability. If I'm fucking up and I'm making a mistake, I expect to be called out by the people that give a fuck about me.
Of course.
Blue flames scorching the shit the fuck out. And nobody wants to go through that fucking process. Why? Because that process is pain. And we've been conditioned to avoid our pain at all costs. Because all of these things that are happening in the world, if we don't turn around and confront them, then the end result is going to be way worse than the pain we would experience otherwise, taking justice upon ourselves in terms of particular fucking situations.
That's what people always want to do. They want to avoid short-term discomfort that if they faced it would pay off in the long term and would lead to long-term prosperity. And they want to take short-term comfort that what it ultimately does is keep you stagnant and doesn't lead to any long-term prosperity. It leads to long-term enslavement, tyranny, destruction, chaos, disorder, etc. You're going to live in squalor. If you take the time to exercise discipline and order things correctly, you have an orderly environment that you could think straight, you can get things done. This is what people don't want to do, and because of bad direction from parenting. Conscious parenting is one of the most important things that could ever be done in this reality. If the parent does not instill good principles within the child and then good habits within the child grows up completely unprincipled and undisciplined. And that's what we have. We have a bunch of adults who are unprincipled and undisciplined running around trying to run the world. What do you think is going to be the result of parents not setting a good example and not instilling good principles and good philosophy within the child, teaching them good habits and good life skills?
You know how kids are, especially when they're in their teen years, going into rebellion. I'm not opposed to that. trying to have their own sense of who they are, being able to think for themselves and all this different kind of stuff. Even if it is truly in alignment, that's going to snap back around as far as I'm concerned. The things that I've instilled even in terms of my own son, who's 15 years old. Go fucking rogue, full on fucking feudal fucking ninja, slitting fucking throats. In terms of having a strategy to action when it comes to experiencing what it is that we want to see happen, manifest in the world, true freedom. It's not conducive to run out on a fucking trigger. Never allow the enemy to provoke you. This is what Sun Tzu.
That's reactive mode. That's instant reactive mode. What we really need to do long-term, organizationally, is develop strategies to truly educate the population. The only way.
That's the only fucking thing.
That's the only answer. Educate the population at large. And that means formulating a strategy to do that and doing it through the internet. We're not going to take over the television stations. We're not going to take over cable. We have to get the message out there through the medium that we have any modicum of freedom to speak on. We have to get that message out there and make it ubiquitous.
As long as it depends on us.
That's right.
The things that I teach and the things I know you teach are the future of education in this realm.
Of course. It's a matter of
proper knowledge and fucking wisdom, and nothing to do with some sort of indoctrination, fucking slavery.
It's a matter of reaching the people who are going to be the true propagators. We need to find people driven by an internal motivation of true justice and right, that really want to go out there in the world and disseminate that message. We appeal to that hardcore group, that inner core. These are going to be the potential future teachers, as long as they approach that from a place of integrity and a place of full honesty. I think that could work. Yeah.
The things that have been revealed to me, there is so much more beyond the foundation level, that if people got the foundation and they really were able to experience even some of the things I've been able to allude to, they would do the real fucking work. I know what is beyond the trajectory of the triangulation factors in this realm, why it's happened, and also why they're pushing their agenda so fucking hard, because as far as I'm concerned, they can't fucking stop what the fuck is coming. We may not even see it in our lifetime, but there will be a generation that does get it. I have foreseen this, and even if we're completely fucked here, I'm going for something fucking true.
At some point, I think these lessons have to be learned and integrated. I don't think that at some cosmic level, we're ultimately going to be able to ignore and refuse them forever.
Fuck no,
because nature's going to move things in a certain direction. And at some point, those lessons are going to be, we must learn them. It's not going to be left within our choice.
In terms of the procession of the grand cycle, the things I talk about, everything is back up for review on timelines going back thousands, if not millions of fucking years. And I'm talking about the true history of mankind, the occult history that people have obviously been kept ignorant to, let alone the last 70 to 80 fucking years in terms of modern history. And all of the programming running this shit as a cause point triangulation, divide and conquer. They got it down to the fucking science of dividing and conquering the person within themselves. They got
within the self. There has to be internal contradiction within the self for somebody to be fooled and manipulated to ultimately create a wire dialectic within society. Yeah. People are only conquered externally once they're conquered internally. In the context and framework of the recent presentation that I gave outside of Philadelphia in Exton, Pennsylvania. It's being worked on right now. Think about that massive dialectic of how many people will take one side or another in the extremist forms of totalitarianism, Nazism, and communism. Coming down on either side of this completely controlled paradigm dialectic and not realizing it's all enslavement.
But these also are ideologies that have been propagated by the fucking controllers to give an illusion in terms of a certain narrative projected upon the things that have happened. People don't really know what the fuck has happened. That's my fucking point.
They haven't researched it historically to understand the occult underpinnings of those ideologies. That's what I did in my 8-hour lecture. I talked about all of the organizations and individuals that influenced the ideologies long before they were ever even actual political ideologies and political parties. showing people they all came out of dark occult groups and organizations and sorcerers, individual sorcerers. I name all the people, I name all the organizations, I go into the history of the people and organizations in this seminar. It's amazing how many people just said, I knew none of this. I had no idea that this went that in depth into the occult world.
Yeah.
And that's what people have to see. And it's all wool being pulled over people's eyes by people who have far more knowledge than themselves about human psychology and the laws of nature. We have to gain that knowledge so that we close the power differential. A knowledge differential exploited becomes a power differential. How do you close the power differential? You close the knowledge differential. That's what has to happen. It all comes down to education.
Exactly. True education.
That's right.
Right education. And as far as all this left-wing communism is concerned, that's all the fucking religions. That's how the religions operate. That's how the governments fucking operate. That's how this whole goddamn gambit operates in terms of the infrastructure. Take it back to the Sumerian Draconian Empire. Take it back to the cult of fucking Aton. That's where it all roots.
Yep.
And then fractals out on itself in terms of all of these different factions that are even seemingly opposed on the fucking surface.
Yep.
But the inner sanctum working, what's happening on even higher levels beyond bankers, governments, even the dark priest class themselves, taking it to the actual fucking interdimensional forces that do not belong here. They're not even of our fucking universe. Everything happening, even my experience, it's an interdimensional paradox. It's all happening here on a multidimensional level. It's all converging here within our realm. This is the highest realm that we could possibly be in order to anchor the higher here. But then people fall into these ideologies, escapism, negating their responsibility to become great and know the fucking difference and really want to learn proper knowledge and wisdom, let alone the foundation of what we get into, and truly come to know thyself so that we, at the very fucking least, make the playing field even, and then be free to implement and build and do and create what we are here to do, to be partakers of this biospiritual regenesis.
And that's what the goal is. The goal is transformation and evolution. It's not escape.
Right.
I hear so many people saying, "Oh, I wish I could escape Earth." No, this is a learning experience to understand how reality works and what not to do. Fools taken the approach of doing all the things that we should not be doing. When people say, what do I need to do and create? And they say, well, this isn't a solution talking about this and the mental realm and the laws of nature. It absolutely is the solution. To stop doing foolish and immoral behaviors that we are already doing, and most continuing to do them for a paycheck. Decide we're not going to cooperate with evil. We're not going to cooperate with these completely inhuman agendas. We're not going to continue to take money to do things that we know are morally wrong and that are immoral. The whole situation would organically transform itself into a situation that is not a prison-like society, that would be a free society that would allow us to grow and evolve and learn and create new things. We're not going to get to that level if we stay in the realm of following orders, believing the mainstream media, accepting authority. These are things that are all designed to hold back our evolutionary progress as a species. We have to outgrow it, and we have to become wise, and we have to realize that these people do not have our good intentions in mind. They are trying to stagnate our evolutionary progress as individuals and a species. If we allow that to continue, we're complicit with a cosmic crime. That's a cosmic crime to try to hold evolutionary progress of an entire species back from its natural development. And we shouldn't assist in that process. We should resist it and rebel against it. That's what a true warrior does, push things in the direction of the will of creation.
It's not necessarily about fighting on their terms. It's implementing something that is even greater in terms of an ideology, a philosophy.
Yep.
A deep inner knowing in terms of proper knowledge and wisdom for us to fucking focus on, instead of getting sucked into the fucking abyss with what we think we need to fucking give our attention and fucking focus to. If everybody walked the fuck away from government, it would rot from the inside out.
1 in 5 people on this planet work for government in some capacity. Could you imagine? It's like 20% of the entire human race is employed directly or indirectly by some form of a government.
That's an actual legitimate statistic.
Yes. 1 in 5 human beings on the planet Earth, in some way, directly or indirectly, receive the money that they have to live on using those resources comes from government in some capacity. We think we're going to evolve that way and something good is going to come of that situation. Government infiltrate our lives to that extent where we don't want personal responsibility. Yes. Go ahead.
Discovering one's true purpose is not proper knowledge and wisdom that they give you in terms of their education system. The
Ignores
fuck did David Rockefeller say?
Yeah.
I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
There you have it.
Fuckers that don't know how to think, that are just fucking cogs in a machine that is oiled by the fucking blood of slaughtered fucking innocents.
And think about that. Marxism, and especially cultural Marxism today, pushes the whole worldview and the whole self-ego-based identification dynamic that human beings are workers. We're here to work. No, human beings are unique expressions of consciousness. They can't be put into the box of worker. Imagine that's how you would define yourself. Could you imagine someone saying, give me an idea of who and what you are as a being, and you come back with the answer, worker. I mean, you want to talk about not seeing your potential. You want to talk about missing the mark completely about what you think of yourself and your potential as a being. There could be no better answer than worker.
This goes back to a condition that has been enforced in terms of indoctrination from a very young age. In order to survive in the realm, you got to do something. You got to get a job. You got to stop the pavement. Why can't I pursue my fucking dreams, my hopes, the true gift, skills, and abilities that I have to implement and create something else? That is what I've done. That is what you have done. That is what other people have done in this network. And if we can do it, so can other fucking
That's right. It's very doable. You just do have to work very hard at it.
But it's harder in terms of accountability and responsibility to it.
Of course.
No one's
just you.
Right. No one's calling you for being fucking late for work.
Right. If you don't get up and go do the work, done. The end. Right.
So again, the ultimate fucking responsibility. I remember even saying to myself when I was very young, I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur someday. I'm a non-employee entrepreneur. This is one of the most difficult things that anybody can do. It's 24/7, nonstop, fucking nonstop.
Always there. There is no real day off. I mean, taking a day off just means things build up for that day. That's all. And you got to play catch up the next. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's steady, constant effort is what's required from someone who's going to really do things themselves and take a personal position of true personal responsibility.
You can't be indifferent with why you're doing it, and then things get difficult, you fucking give up and quit and then go back to the fucking bullshit.
That's where discipline and persistence come into play. And if you don't have those, forget it. This is what I teach in How to Become the True Media. It's not just a tech seminar. People think, oh, it's just tech. No, it's not just tech. Tech is the basis of the seminar. Teach people publishing and communication skills to get the word out, to truly educate humanity. That's just the foundation of it. It's a life skill seminar. This is teaching people what they have to have inside as personal characteristics of a being to be able to go out and do this kind of great work. If you don't have those personal characteristics and those disciplines within the self, forget it. The technical stuff is meaningless if you don't develop those internal characteristics first. A big part of what I teach in How to Become the True Media is life skill lessons and what we have to develop characteristic-wise, for sure.
Truly coming to know thyself.
That's right.
And then even deeper, as I've been saying, why? You can literally look at anything in the realm and go, why?
Yep.
Why?
Why do you believe that? Why do you behave that way? Why do you accept that explanation?
Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? People think they can't because they're given over to ideologies that are a cause point for the indifference of their own fucking soul. And it's all traded out. Their eternal spirit, their codes, their fucking templating.
If they only were able to trace those ideas back to the sorcerers that instilled them within their minds, then they would see. Don't believe everything you think, because a lot of those thoughts are instilled there by people without your best interest in mind.
See, that shit never worked on me, even when I was young, all the way up through their system of quote unquote education.
Mhm.
It never fucking worked. I always knew that something was fucking wrong.
Sure.
From the very first fucking moment I stepped into those fucking corridors, I said, something's fucking off here.
That's what we have to do. We have to go with that gut instinct feeling, but then identify exactly what it is, be able to define it, be able to explain it. That's the key, getting to those details. They want to distract you from that. All the distractions, take it away from that and not get people to understand natural law. It's all a distraction for. All the endless distractions are to get you away from that knowledge. That's it. And we have to stay focused and on point and disciplined and acquire an understanding of those laws of nature. Those are the keys to everything. Those are the keys that unlock all the doors to all the gates.
And we ain't getting out of this motherfucker, like I've said, and even like Max Spears said, without the dragon and the key. And the dragon,
that's right.
In terms of that internal ignition, the gates of true intelligence.
Our willpower. Yep.
Right. The true will force, the Haru.
Yep.
Knowing how to extract the gold of consciousness within one's templating. That's the gold that they have harvested and have kept in fucking vaults.
Yep.
Physically and also metaphysically speaking. What do we have? We got the nectar, and you got the nectar as well. I would like for you to share your experience with it.
The nectar of Athanasia. Yeah. It's excellent. As you explained to me, a very simple formula. I thought it was more complex with more things in it, but you explained the main ingredients, of which is gold. Think about what the ancients not only used gold to do, but symbolized it as. This one is the first actual gold tincture that I've ever tried. And what I find, can only speak to my personal experience, is it helps with mental focus and mental clarity. One of the things that I always find is it really helps regulate my sleep when I take it, especially if I take a little bit more than the recommended amount. I normally have very good sleep, and I normally don't have any problems falling asleep. One of the things that I find is if I wake up and I'm not feeling completely refreshed after sleep, even if I got enough sleep hour-wise, I find that gold always help regulate that for me, not only in the short term mental alertness and focus and clarity, but sleep regulation. I find, especially again, if I take a little bit more than what the normal dose amount, I find myself popping right up out of bed. I find myself alert and ready to go first thing as soon as I wake up. There's no lag. There's no, I got to get myself in the mood to do this. There's no, I got to motivate myself to get up and be ready. I just am. Wakefulness and immediate energy and drive to go and do what you need to do first thing.
Brilliant. Yeah. The effects that I experienced laid out on the website, what it does is primes the materia, your physical vessel, to go through this process integration in terms of the great work. The more gold that you have in your body politic, physically speaking, the more incorruptible you become, physically speaking.
Interesting.
They're trying to fuck shit. And have been ever since we fucking incarnated before. I mean, look at all the fucking wars and just this insane shit.
And gold is an eternal metal that is incorruptible, can't be degraded. It would exist basically forever.
So in reflection, what did the fucking fallen come for? The gold.
Right.
Why is that?
Yeah, exactly.
That even not just the ore. I'm talking about our essence. I'm talking about our.
Of course, all of it. One is a reflection of the other. It's all about the alchemical gold.
Right. And this is what people don't understand about the law of correspondence. They can't make a correlation because they're scathing fucking surfaces.
Staying on the physical aspect of it, think about just even the ancient Cometians, the ancient Egyptians. They baked it into cakes that they called mufkat.
I'm not down with the mufkazoo, man. That's a counterfeit recipe, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's a lot to get into.
But I know that
we don't have enough time to,
really, they ate it physically, and you're saying that putting it into the tincture is the more genuine form of it.
It's the true recipe.
Interesting.
It's the true recipe. It's 100% pure.
Well, we'll have to have a personal discussion about that. I've definitely been using it on a daily basis, so. This particular topic was very interesting to me. You took it in the direction of an ancillary satanic organization such as the Satanic Temple and their particular individuated satanic tenets, something that I have not actually covered in my material. Looking at their work and their tenets inspires me to look more into their ideology and agenda, because I know they do have one.
It's all ironic to me because, again, on the surface, not everything is what it seems. That's why you have to have the first eye to see core intelligence to know the difference.
And then go deeper into the context of it. And I think that's what we provided here today.
Was syntax, quantum grammar, and context.
That's right.
In terms of the language that we actually speak, knowing the word.
Yep.
And we are surrounded by the ribbon code script of the universal fucking logos. Literally experienced it, man. And we've been veiled. Most of humanity stands at the first veil. All of them. Most of humanity, corruption on the lower fucking tiers. But what I'm saying, and what I know Mark knows, is that there's so much more beyond all of this fucking bullshit. If we can cross these fucking thresholds actually pull that fucking trajectory, what we're going to be experiencing in this realm is so much fucking greater.
It's unimaginable.
Imagine.
It would accelerate so quickly. As I've said, we'll become a type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale within several decades. Greater things lie ahead for humanity if we can just learn morality and just learn don't do things to others that we don't want done to ourselves. It's quite simple.
That's common sense.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
I completely agree. Mark, it was awesome having you on, man. I know you got to go.
Sethikus, thank you so much for inviting me here on the Black Earth Production, and thank you for continuing the work that you do as part of the Great Work Network and as part of the great work at large. Thanks so much.
Excellent. All right, man. Hails.
Take care.
All of this was a very, very powerful discussion that I had with Mark Passio. It's something that I've been wanting to do with him for a very long time, so that these things can be known, how triangulation factors actually operate, especially this trifecta. We have been lied to for the last 70 to 80 years. In terms of modern history, back up for review, along with everything else, the precession of the grand cycle. Everything that I'm hailing forth with this platform via Black Earth Productions. Everyone go into the description below. Check out all the links. Check out Mark's website at whatonearthishappening.com. Everything can be navigated from there. And also what he has lined out. His media course entails other things as mentioned. With one to the website, with those that inquire of everything on my end, click on the link below at blackearthproductions with a Z.com. Line things out. For a level 1 apprentice, full rights, initiation into the mystery school. Send me a direct email at blackearthproductions with an S at the end at hotmail.com. This is how to get a hold of me directly. That is how everything works on my end with things. As for everything to our services with the mystery school, click on the services page on the website, go through everything. And in terms of anything on there, including level 1 apprentice, again, send me a direct email at blackearthproductions with an S at the end at hotmail.com. To one-on-one mentorship with me, as well as full access to the Black Earth Library, other benefits that will come with your tuition upon signing up. We have our products page, the Nectar of Athanasia, as mentioned, with Mark's testimony of how powerful it actually is, assisting up-leveling everything on a practical level to the premium materia, again, our physical bodies in terms of health, in terms of well-being, clarity, focus, and action to manifestation when it comes to our abilities, and especially those that are templated to this mission in terms of their position. So for those that want to line things out, get a hold of us directly, send out the emails. This is what we do. And as things continue to unfold, it is proper knowledge and wisdom in terms of true education that is going to get everything on the up level. And with that, to wrap things up, this is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon. Be empowered. The time is now in terms of your life. Hails!
to power, feel the fucking rush in your veins, to sharpen the knife, roll the dice, game of life. To hell and back, hell and back, no and back. Bound in my blood, shape-shifted like a dream dance, to sharpen the knife, roll the dice, game of life. To hell and back, hell and back, no and back. Us, rise, hell and back. See us, rise, no man back. Surrender to power, feel the fucking rush in your veins, to sharpen the knife, roll the dice, game of life. To hell and back, hell and back, no and back. Bound in my blood, shape-shifted like a dream dance, to sharpen the knife, roll the dice, game of life. Hell and back, hell and back, no and back. See us, rise, hell and back. See us, rise, no and back. To hell and back, hell and back, to hell and back, hell and back, no and back. Streets of stone in Warsaw, every bastard seat in outlaw. Shadow out underground, Warsaw. Speed wall, Warsaw, speed wall. Nighttime rage, toxic plague in Warsaw. My solution, isolation, isolation. The shadow out underground. Run without death.